So guys, the World War II sandbox tactical shooter Scriptum just got a brand new update which has improved its visuals, its audio, and most importantly, its performance. And so with that being said, it's probably about time we tried to answer the question if it's still worth playing in 2019. Well guys, this is BillyEatWorld again, and let's find out. Alright guys, so just before we start, I just want to let you know that Henrique, the community manager for Scriptum, has been an absolute legend, and he's actually given me a few codes for the game to give away. And like usual, well, the first way you can win one of these codes is to follow me on Twitter and retweet my Twitter post for this video, which I'm going to link in the description down below. Not just that, but I'm also going to be giving a code to one person who leaves a comment on this video as well. All I want you guys to do is let me know why you want to play this game so much and why you deserve to win this code. And well, I'll pick a winner and I'll announce it in the comments of this video in about a week's time. But anyway, enough boring stuff, let's get into the video. And the first thing that you really should know about this game is that it's developed by an indie studio called Periscope Games, who, if you haven't already heard about them, were actually a studio that was formed from the merging of two modding teams, the Project Reality World War II team and the Liberty's Highway team, who were working on Squad. Now, speaking of Squad, well, Scriptum is actually also published by Offworld Industries, and it runs on exactly the same engine. So if you're familiar with that game, well, you're going to notice a lot of similarities. And look, I wouldn't go as far as to say that it's just a World War II clone of Squad, but I mean, it is pretty close, right? And with how popular that game's been getting in the last few months, that actually could be a pretty good thing. So with that being said, a lot of the things that you could say about Squad also probably apply to Scriptum. For example, this game is less of a first-person shooter and more of a military simulation. Not to the extent of a game like Arma 3, but definitely more than, for example, Battlefield 5. It's also a lot bigger than BF5, most servers are capped at 40 versus 40, and the maps are a lot bigger as well, meaning engagements are a lot more sparse and usually at longer ranges as well. And not just that, but the player movement is very slow and very clunky by comparison, which makes the map seem even bigger because it takes forever to get anywhere. Now, if you're a fan of games like COD or Battlefield, well, you might be thinking, why would anyone want to play a game like that? And well, that's fair enough if you're into that sort of thing. But see, in a game like this, the enjoyment doesn't come from running and gunning and getting kills. It's from smart positioning and from teamwork. If you try and play this game like Battlefield 5, you'll run in, you'll get killed, you'll run in again, and you'll get killed again, and you'll either give up or you'll figure out that that's not how this game works. You have to take your time. You have to predict where the enemy's going to be. You've got to flank around them and then pick them apart one at a time. Speaking of flanking, well, people often talk about flanking in arcadey shooters, but honestly, with HUD markers, hit markers, and minimaps helping enemies see you, it's really not that effective, is it? Whereas in Scriptum, there's almost no HUD at all. So not only do you get a clean and immersive experience, you can literally walk up behind guys and they won't even know you're there. And when you combine that with the fact that most weapons are absolutely deadly in this game, and I'm talking on average 1 or 2 bullets to kill, you can see how insane flanking can be. If you do manage to surprise a group of, say, 4 to 5 enemies, you can potentially take them all out before they can even see you, which honestly just isn't really possible in a game like Battlefield. Now, obviously for some people, that's pretty off-putting, especially considering spawning in this game is very punishing as well. Not only is the spawn delay a lot longer than it is in most shooters, you can't spawn on squad mates or objectives. Instead, you've got to spawn on points that are placed by the squad leaders. That means that getting killed means often a long wait to spawn in again, and then potentially a fairly long run to get back to where you were, which is especially punishing if you get one-shotted from across the map by some guy prone in the bush that you couldn't even see. That would be enough to make most Battlefield players Alt F4 right there. Speaking of Battlefield, well, that's not the only thing most Battlefield players couldn't handle. For example, suppression in this game makes BF3 suppression look like nothing. When you get shot at, your field of view constricts down to the smallest tunnel, and really the only thing you can do at that point is go prone and try and crawl away, which, on a side note, actually drains your stamina bar. Also, when you get shot, if for some lucky reason you don't get killed outright, just like in squad, you'll need to bandage yourself, and even then you won't go back up to full health. You'll then have to find yourself a medic, and by that point you'll realise how important teamwork really is in this game. Squads, or sections as they're called in Postscriptum, are like machines, and every squad member is an important part. Now, so far we've only covered the most basic core mechanics of Postscriptum, but the reason we've done that is because they're really the main barrier for entry to this game. And look, if anything I've already said up to this point puts you off, and fair enough it might, well, the honest truth is this game probably isn't gonna be for you. But with that being said, just say you really do like the idea of a punishing, hardcore sandbox tactical shooter, well, you'll get all of that with Postscriptum, plus a whole lot of immersion. Not only because, like I said before, there's basically no HUD to get in the way of that, when this game says it's a World War II game, it really is, no strings attached. Unlike games like Battlefield 5, which often play loose with the historical accuracy for the sake of gameplay, Postscriptum doesn't, at all. For example, all of its maps are based on real historical battles that took place in the Netherlands during the Allied Airborne Offensive, Operation Market Garden in 1944. All of the main factions that fought in that operation are represented in-game, each with their own unique weapons and gear. And not just that, but you can actually play as specific divisions, like for example the 101st Airborne. And here's a great example of historical authenticity in this game that you're just not going to see in Battlefield 5. You can actually play as the Waffen-SS, and not just that, but all of the loadouts are labelled in German with no English translation to help you figure out what the hell you're doing. So with all of that being said, and obviously we haven't talked about everything in this video, but by now you've probably got a good idea of what Postscriptum is and what it isn't. And well, if you're a regular viewer of this channel, you might be thinking to yourself at this point that this sounds a lot like Hell Let Loose, which I mean it kind of is, and it also kind of isn't. Both of these games are clearly inspired by Project Reality and more recently Squad, but you'll definitely notice Hell Let Loose is a lot more forgiving. Not as much as say Battlefield 5 is, but things like recoil and suppression are noticeably easier, and things like spawning and movement speeds are a bit faster as well. Apart from that though, the big difference I notice is that while Hell Let Loose probably looks a bit more polished, Postscriptum's maps are maybe a bit more fleshed out and detailed. But one thing to bear in mind is that while I can definitely say that now, Hell Let Loose is still very much a work in progress. The devs are going over maps and improving them, and not just that, they're adding new maps and content at a much faster rate. Which brings me to my last point, which is that it seems like because Hell Let Loose is a bit more accessible, and because it's probably getting more regular updates now, it seems to be poaching a lot of Postscriptum's players. Which isn't to say that you can't find Postscriptum servers online anymore, it's just that they're becoming fewer and further between. And honestly, in my opinion, unless we see some new big content drops from Periscope in the next few months, maybe that trend's going to continue, and maybe we'll see a time in the future where this game isn't playable at all. But anyway, guys, that just about wraps up this quick review. So as always, make sure you let me know what you think in the comment section down below. And obviously, just remember that it's pretty hard to even scratch the surface of a game like this in just one video. So if you think I've missed something important, well, leave a comment down below so anyone who's thinking of buying this game can take a look. As always, though, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and please feel free to check out the links in the description if you want to see any more of these videos. And also don't forget you can find my Twitter and Discord links down there as well if you want to keep in touch. And as always, until next time, see you later, and have a good one.